the Eagles injury list report is huge. A lot of other teams are in the same boat. And then I saw Dak Prescott's injury on last Sunday, and I thought about it. I'm like, I got to talk to somebody. So I reached out to Ken Dunnick, and he told me about Dave Klemic from Mainland High School. So guess what? Let's go to the Barb's Harley-Davidson Sports Hotline and welcome into the locker room a former Mainland Mustang, Kansas City Chief wide receiver, Dave Klemic. What's up, Dave?
Billy Schweim, how you doing, man? Good talking to
you. We're doing okay. It's a beautiful day today, Dave.
It is. I just did a walk around the lake with my wife Erica, with the dogs, and we're happy as a clam.
Good, Dave. Local story, local kid, Mainland High School. I guess you'll never forget your playing days with the Mustangs.
Oh man, so best playing days of my life. Before it became a business, and I had to grip my team. It was kind of funny. On my team, I was pretty much like a no-name. We really kind of didn't need me at all. We had so many superstars. That team was so good that I think we won 3 years in a row after that. And it was just like player after player. I mean, like I did like 1 or 2 catches a game. I didn't really catch on until I got to college. So we had John Stone, who played in the NFL, who was a Marcus Perry, who went to Rutgers, and just the names go on. Everybody, Tony DeSalle and Jason Feinberg. It was just Jeff Boyd. It was stacked. So we didn't really need me, but I made my way up, and I made my name in college, basically.
And, Mainland's put some players out over the years. They've had some guys into the pros.
So we went in the draft 3 years in a row. We went. Tim Watson went in 2000, and I went free agency 2001, and then John Stone also went free agency 2002. So we were 1, 2, 3. Had guys playing in the NFL in concurrent together. We were all playing at the same time. So it was pretty cool. When the first catch John Stone ever had was against the Chiefs at the Chiefs in like November. And that was his first. He had like a 12-yard curl route, and I was standing on the sideline to see that. So, and as you know, the rivalry is if you see me jumping up and down like in like cheering for a Raider, you get in trouble in Kansas City for that. I got my Kansas City
and of
Chiefs
course,
flag.
we know.
Go ahead.
No, I'm sorry. I think we're having a little bit of a delay here. Anyway, we also know some of your coaches real well. Former assistant coach Jeff Cusack, and of course Scotty McKay. And I know Brian Booth real well.
2 of my favorites. Booth, to this day, if I see Booth, it's like a big jumping hug. Me and Booth are real close. Love that guy.
Anymore, if you jump and hug him, you're hugging a bear. Dave, Brian was my roommate when we worked together on the Beach Patrol in Ocean City, and I still talk to him all the time. So I called him yesterday when Billy said he was having you on, and he just said great fond memories of you and a great player, even though you didn't say you did much, but he felt like you did, and he's still involved. So he's a great guy.
Well, imagine if you had like an NFL running back in the back, and then you had all these guys that end up playing in college. We run the Delaware wing T, so it's all misdirection, and you get to throw one pass. I'm standing wide open 80 yards down the field. No one's even looking at me. So it's like, it was like, I don't really know if I'm good at this or not. I just knew, they knew I was fast, and I gave me a shot. So I basically got nothing but, the 1AA scholarships, and somebody, took a shot on me and ended up working out. I scored a lot of things in college and stuff like that, but there was, it was high school was tough in that Delaware wing T, so you're not throwing the ball ever.
Yeah. We're talking with Dave Klemic, former Mainland Mustang, Kansas City Chief wide receiver. And then, of course, when did you're known for your speed. When did you acquire this speed? Were you naturally fast, or was it something you had to work on?
So, yeah, when I was at 12 years old, I was the Junior Olympic long jump champion at 12. And I got to go to, compete nationally and stuff like that. And I was always the CYO 100 and 200 meter champ. But in high school, John Stone was also one of the NFL's fastest players while he was there. We had to race each other, and I could hurdle, but he kind of couldn't. So I would run the hurdles, and he would run the sprints. And so I really didn't even really get it. Like I really didn't get to I knew I could run, and I ended up getting state track athlete of the year my senior year. But it was not in the short sprints, and it turns out when I got to college, they wouldn't really let me run because I did two sports, and they wouldn't really let me run anything but a very short sprint. And I never ran the short sprints because John ran them. So when I get to college, my first race, I ran they let me run in the conference championships, and I win the 55 meters, the 200 meters, and the long jump, and I break conference records in all three of them. And I'm like, oh man, I didn't know I was this good at these events. So so just because that's all they would let me do. And then it turns out, there's a huge difference between being fast and being an accelerator, which is kind of like what we figured out through all the sports science now that, I was an accelerator and I could run that 40-yard dash. Now people will catch me, like the world-class guys could catch me by 60 to 100, but I already got them at 40. And that's what, tell you what, 40 pays the most money, 40-yard dash pays the most.
So then you go to, you're in Northeastern. At what point did you think that you might have a shot at playing in the NFL?
Oh, so my sophomore year, I led the Atlantic 10 in touchdown receptions. I had 15, and then I had 1,200 yards receiving that year, like 1,175. And all of them were like highlight reel touchdowns. And then in the off season, the pro scouts come and test everybody in their 40s, during your spring testing. And that was the first time I ran one sub 4.3, and it was a shock, not so much a shock for me, but everybody else was like, holy moly! I ran for like a 4.46, and then I won the conference and all that stuff. But to run a sub 4.3, then they make you run it over and over and over, and they bring out different timers, and they bring out the electronic timers, and they brought the tools out. And I had Bobby Greer, who was the head of player personnel for the Patriots, was there, and he came back. He said, "Stay right here." He made a few phone calls. I waited there for 2 hours, and he brought all his scouts in from the Patriots, and I was running in front of the entire Patriots staff, and I ran like a 4.28
Wow.
Electric, and they made me run it like 3 times just to make sure everything was right. And he goes, "I'll see you at the combine in a year or two." Whatever. And I said, so I didn't know what the combine was. I thought it was Columbine. I thought they were talking about Columbine.
That's not
I didn't know what that was. So they were, even when I said that, they're like, "Hey, Dave, I got invited to the combine." They're like, "Oh, hey, Dave's going to Columbine." They're,
great. Sure, your parents were thrilled.
Yeah, I guess it's not that funny, but it was it was funny to hear people mess that up because we literally knew that little about it, So, but yeah, and after that it was pretty much a waiting game and trying not to get hurt. That was you're just waiting around, and I knew I was producing what other guys. Well, one of the neat things was at a conference championship, I ran against Eddie Conti, who was a superstar at Delaware, and another guy named Andre Pam, and both those guys were drafted. And before the track meet, I went over and I got a picture taken with them, got their autograph because I knew they were already getting drafted and stuff like that. So I played against them. So then that same meet, I won and I beat both of those guys, and I had already had 15 touchdowns that season. So they were like, "What are you taking a picture of us? I'm taking a picture of you." So I knew there was. I went up to watch the Jets training camp too, and I watched Eddie was with the Jets, I think, at the time, and there was the other receiver, little guy, tiny guy from the Hofstra, and I watched him a ton. Just oh gosh, what was his name? But he was balling for the Jets for a couple of years, with Keyshawn Johnson, and I watched him at training camp, and I'm like, gosh, I could do this. I can definitely do this. Like I'm totally, and I just started thinking of myself in that manner from then on. Like this is my future, and I just had to chase it. So it was a lot of hard work.
That's pretty cool. That's pretty cool. We're talking with Dave Klemic, formerly with the Kansas City Chiefs, and I think Josh just said Wayne Corbett. Is that who it was, Josh?
Wayne Corbett. Why did I forget that? Matter of fact, I talked to him after one of the practices, and I go, I wasn't suited up for the Jets game, but I did travel. I got to travel, and I, just sat out. I was inactive, but I walked out on the field to go introduce myself to him, and a bunch of security guards came over to grab me, and they're like, "Yo, you can't come out on the field." You're like, I'm wearing my credentials and my Chiefs and everything, and they go, and he goes, I'm like, "Hey, you can't come out here. You can't come out here." And I said, "Oh no, I'm playing for the Chiefs, whatever." And he's like, they're like, and Wayne was like, "Don't worry, man. This happens to me all the time. People don't think it's really me because you're so small. You just look like somebody's agent. You don't look like one of the players." So I had to take the nonsense.
All right,
for my
listen,
whole career.
Dave, listen. Let's we're gonna hold you over. We're gonna take a break. We're talking with Dave Klemic from Mainland High School. He played football for the Mustangs, and then of course went on to play for the Kansas City Chiefs. Hang on with us, Wayne. We're gonna take Dave. We're gonna take a commercial break, and we'll be back with more. Let's get right back into it. Schweim, 97.3 ESPN and the mobile app. We're talking with former Kansas City Chief wide receiver Dave Klemic. And Dave, you're playing for the Chiefs, all right? And you're one of the fastest guys on the team. You have a race with Dante Hall, was it?
Yeah.
And you beat him.
Yeah, that was. I'm pretty sure that video right.
He
there,
says you did. By the way, he says you didn't beat him. I saw the video. For those of you who want to check it out, go to YouTube. Just type in Dave Klemic, and you'll see it. He says that he put his head out. And he beat you, Dave.
Yeah, so we had to go to photo finish. So what you see is the TV version of it. And then we actually had all the 40-yard dash timers and the auto finishes, and I got them by 100th of a second. And so, like I was saying, we had to not only you win like $25,000, but you also put up each other's paychecks. And Dante's was much bigger than mine.
Oh,
so mine was my first
cool.
paycheck was like practice squad numbers, and his was like he had made the Pro Bowl that year. So I got. He had won it that year, and he was notorious as like one of the fastest guy in the league. So for me to do that was like after that is when I started getting my endorsements and my my little local commercials and stuff like that and then you get announced to the entire city at the convention center, and they introduce you as the fastest. The Kansas City Chiefs fastest man in 2000, and I had to walk right past Dante when they said that, and he was so mad. So
did he actually swap his paycheck?
Listen,
yeah, he did. Yeah.
Good.
Good nice. Dave,
he's
so then you continue with the Chiefs.
Solid people.
So then you continue with the Chiefs, then you go to NFL Europe. You play for Barcelona, and one of the reasons why we're having you on is you had a devastating injury similar to Dak Prescott. And talk to us a little bit about the injury itself, how painful it was, and your rehab, and how hard was it to rehab and get back to where where to be able to play again.
Okay, so yeah, that was this is one of those things that's it's like when you talk about gruesome injuries or wasn't. And when you experience it yourself, mine, and I'm pretty sure Dax was called a compound fracture, where it's a break of the tibia, which is the weight-bearing bone, and the fibula, which is the non-weight-bearing bone. And if you do both, a lot of times it's a sharp edge of a bone that comes out, and then it pierces right through your skin. So that makes it that compounds the problem, and it makes it like now you have a circulation issue. Once that breaks, then you break all the blood vessels, and all your you can break a lot of stuff can go wrong. So then you got to deal with infection because you're probably going to have dirt and turf and stuff like that up inside your bloodstream. So they got to do a lot of stuff. I even got a blood transfusion because of the whole thing. So it's scary. And when you look at your own leg, when you're a world-class athlete, you look at your leg and it's just dangling there. It's in the inside. Your the core, to your heart. You're like, it's damaging. So, yeah, I can tell you it's pretty gruesome. And although the pain, I can tell you the pain of it is so quick that you don't even understand like how to grasp what's going on. But then it's like
well, you're probably in shock.
Yeah, you're in shock. You don't even realize how bad. So you're just looking at it like this isn't right. So I watched Dak look at his own leg. Like he had time to look at it, and you're like, and that was what was pretty. It was pretty devastating to see him looking at his own leg. I wish he didn't see it, And then the rehab should take. So I played with a guy named Jerome Woods, who his first Pro Bowl season was right after he had a compound tibia fibula fracture. So he could come back from it and he'll do very well. I've seen Alex Smith's recovery. I remember when Ed McCaffrey, who I talked to on the phone, who was playing for the Broncos when he broke his leg. He had a tibia fibula fracture like that. And he came back. So everybody, he reached out to me in the hospital, actually. It was pretty cool. Like anybody that's been through that injury. There was another guy that played at San Jose State that broke his leg like that, and then he lost his leg, if you remember that. His brother was a fullback for the Eagles for a little while. It's going back like 20 years now, but
right.
It can be devastating. But what they're going to do to it is they're going to put a pin from the top of your tibia bone to the bottom, and they'll pin it together, and he'll be able to stand up almost, and not really. It's not going to heal yet, but he'll be able to it'll structure the leg back correctly, and then he'll have the process. They put a bone stem on you, and they support it in kind of an air cast for a while and let that bone heal up. And then when it heals up, then the muscle's gone. So you got to rehab that and learn how to right from the start learn how to walk again. It's going to be a long process, but he'll be fine, and he'll probably be back mid next season, probably I would say, or maybe he'll miss next season as well. Because it takes a little while just to recover it, and Alex Smith, I don't think is back yet either. So, because
listen, Dave, the reason why we had you on too is because Scotty McKay and I are having a debate here today. And by the way, people can chime in 609-403-0973 is the text board. Scotty McKay said it wasn't that gruesome of an injury, and I say it is, and I know you do. Go ahead, Scooter. I mean, you can chime in there. I know we're having a
Well, yeah, we're having this delay issue, but my thought was you were in the hospital in Barcelona, and when I was reading that story about you, no one there spoke English, and then on top of it, you're on all the pain meds. I said I would have thought the pain meds would have helped you understand Spanish at that point. I mean, that would have probably been a helpful thing.
Yeah. So Coach Vermeil, I was still playing for the Chiefs. It's just like basically like a spring league. You can play in one game, you can play in whatever. Me and Joe Germain went out there together, who was, from Ohio State, won a national championship, won a Super Bowl with the Rams, and then he came with Vermeil over to the Chiefs. So we both went over. We're going to play in a couple games until Joe got married, and then we were both flying back to go to his wedding. And in that game, that's when I broke my leg, and Coach Vermeil was awesome because he flew out a translator, and one of our team doctors, who's John Brown, I love him to this day. Another translator came out and assisted on the surgery, and then they flew back with me. And his name is Bindu Brammer, and he's now the team doctor of the Cleveland Browns. So they flew back with me, and then we did all our rehab back in Kansas City. And then that process for me to get back on the field was kind of what brings me to where I am today, because I got so obsessed with putting myself, back on the field. So, it's pretty.
And real quick, Dave, let our listeners know, Dave, that you have Klemic's Performance Method is your business where you train and get athletes that have been injured back in shape, back to their playing ways.
Yeah, it's basically what, there's two ways. You either come in through a referral from another coach, or you come in from a referral from a doctor or physical therapist. And we do what we call an effective range study. And we take all these scores of how well you jump, sprint, move laterally, and a couple different strength exercises. And we get it back to 110% of where you are to your national averages. So it's been fantastic. And that, I work with kids from 5 years old, like Jackson Carpenter to superstars like Destin Lasco and Austin Johnson and Alexandria Cotter to, people all over the country. Jack Crawford, Nicky Williams.
Dave, give out your information. Give out your information. Help people get a hold of you.
It's called Klemic Performance Method, and my phone number is 609-742-6190. And basically, if any, and usually this is going out to all the physical therapists and doctors that refer stuff to me, to coaches. That will be, you come through a questionnaire, and then you do an evaluation process, which is called an effective range study, and it's awesome. You'll want to know these scores no matter who you are, no matter what sport you do. So I totally appreciate the shout out, Billy. That's huge. I didn't expect that. I thank you so much.
Well, listen, Dave. I just wish we had more
Dave,
time.
We'll give you a big shout out. We'll give you a big shout out if you can make Billy fast again. All right.
Well, Billy didn't. Billy was on the. You got to be faster than Pete Thompson because he was on the sideline of an EHT game and he couldn't get out of the way. There was a fracture.
You better find a big hill for that. Downhill.
He got hurt pretty bad, man.
Yeah, that was a bad break. That was a compound fracture, I think, as well. But up in his ulnar radius. No, that was his humerus. Yeah, that was ugly.
I just know it wasn't humorous to him. He got hurt pretty bad. Listen, Dave, I wish we had more time. I really appreciate it. Listen, I talked to our good friend Ken Dunnick from the Jersey Man and Philly Man magazine. He'll be broadcasting live with me tomorrow up on the boardwalk in Ocean City at all campus. So come on down and say hello to us.
I'm coming down there. Actually, I am coming down, and Ken is a great friend. And Ken, if you ever been to one of those legacy parties, I saw your advertisement. It's off the hook.
Yeah.
You don't even understand. Join the Legacy Club. Join the Legacy Club. I'm telling you, it's nothing like it. I brought my wife Erica to it, and we had a blast. It was incredible. Nothing like it.
Well, listen, Dave, I hope to see you tomorrow. We're going to be broadcasting live in Ocean City on the boardwalk at all campus from 10 a.m. to 12 noon. And I really want to thank you so much. And let's do it again because you got a great story and you're a great guy.
Scotty, great talking to you. Take care, guys.
You too, Dave. See you, bud.
There's Dave Klemic on the Barb's Harley Davidson Sports Hotline.